charged in March with running the operation named House St. Pierre near 31st and State, where a criminal complaint alleges he forced women to wear collars and injected them with an unknown substance. Last week, 6 new felony charges were filed against Chronister, including 3 counts of human trafficking. Multiple women have told police Chronister made them sign contracts requiring obedience and, quote, sex upon demand. Chronister's preliminary hearing will establish bail this morning. Adam Roberts, WTMJ News.
The last living American hostage in Gaza may be released and reunited with his family today. ABC's Jordana Miller in Jerusalem describes the most recent videos of Idan Alexander.
Hamas put out a hostage video in April where you can see that he is distressed, he's thin, he looks anxious, he looks scared, he looks tired.
Alexander serving in the Israeli military when he was kidnapped during the October 7th attack. Growing calls for a new air traffic control system after more radar problems at Newark Airport this weekend.
On Wednesday, the airlines will meet with the FAA to try to sort this all out, and they have reason to because AAA is now projecting about 45 million travelers domestically for Memorial Day weekend. That's about 1 million more than last year. So if that happens, it will set a record.
That's ABC's Gio Benitez. Milwaukee County officials will lead a walkthrough of the county's public safety building they say needs to be replaced. County Executive David Crowley tells WTMJ's Wisconsin's Morning News the building's replacement is long overdue.
We're going to make sure that we can reduce costs in the future while making sure that we take care of our responsibilities. We must tear down and replace this public safety building.
The public safety building was built in 1929. County says 60,000 square feet of space and 10 floors of old jail cells are unused. Another MPS school relocating due to lead.
Brown Street school students are officially relocating to Douglas Middle School as of today. The move is part of MPS's lead action plan, a district-wide effort to make the older buildings safer by addressing lead hazards like peeling paint and dust. Currently, MPS has 4 schools closed for lead cleanup in addition to Brown Street, including Starham's Early Childhood Center, La Follette School, and Westside Academy. MPS says both moves are aimed at ensuring staff and students have access to safe learning environments. Nizer Spencer, WTMJ News.
President Trump looking to bring down prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices down. He says his executive order aims to slash prices in the U.S. to what other countries pay. U.S. often pays as much as 3 times more than other developed nations for prescription drugs. Stocks are soaring to start the trading week on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average surged over 1,000 points on the news that U.S. and China agreed to cut reciprocal tariffs by 115% for 90 days during weekend talks in Switzerland. The relief rally boosted all 3 major indexes by more than 2.5%. Taking a look at your money now at the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow still up over 1,000 points, 1,001. The Nasdaq up 630. The S&P 500 is up 151. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:05.
70 years ago, the Blaine brothers founded Blaine's Farm and Fleet as one of the nation's first retail stores to sell goods at a discount. And we've helped supply Midwest farms and families with quality products at unbeatable prices ever since. Like assorted Milwaukee hand tools, just $14.99. 25-ounce cans of ProZap insect spray, $21.99. Plus, we've lowered our prices throughout the store, so you can find the value you need to do things your way. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Being original.
It started with a prediction.
Go out there and play basketball and win.
And how many games?
6.
It became the culture.
Chance of Bucks in 6.
Being a Bucks fan means you live and breathe Bucks in 6. Brandon Jennings created the prophecy. Tune into Behind the Bucks, the story of Brandon Jennings on the Bucks Plus audio network. Behind the Bucks is presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. Available now on bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, and streaming wherever you get your podcasts.
That's for the culture.
For those with a warm weather fashion passion, try St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, because that's where you'll find a vast array of men's, women's, girls, and boys' warm weather apparel at the friendliest prices. So many choices and at such a value. You can fill the closet without draining your wallet. Shop warm weather fashions at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports desk. Brewers avoided a sweep by beating the Rays 4-2 on the road. The Brewers continue their road trip tonight, playing the Guardians in Cleveland. Take a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. Couple of disabled vehicles, I-41 North, one at Good Hope Road off right, one at North Avenue is off left. Again, that's I-41 North. And then I-43 North, about a half mile beyond Howard Avenue, right shoulder there blocked due to a broken down vehicle.
Traffic is sponsored by the amazing Mineshaft Restaurant in downtown Hartford.
The successful Mineshaft Restaurant in Hartford is hiring positive, professional servers, bartenders, and pizza cooks. You'll make real cash. Inquire today and start next week. MineShaftRestaurant.com.
Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Sunny today with high 69, Lakeside 80, inland. A few showers possible late tonight with an overnight low 52. Scattered showers tomorrow, high 65 to 74. Partly cloudy Wednesday, high 68, Lakeside 77, inland. Thursday, partly cloudy with thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening. Some could be strong, high 74 to 82. Slight chance of rain on Friday, partly cloudy with a high 71. 68 in Madison, 70 in Green Bay, and 61 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:08.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scaffidi and Kristin Brey.
Happy Monday. Happy day after Mother's Day. Did you spoil all the women in your life, Steve?
I think so. Spent Friday night with my mother and father, having dinner with them. And then Saturday was for the kids, all the grandkids, all their sporting events. And then yesterday we all wrapped it up with a nice lunch with the whole clan. So, yes, it was a wonderful weekend. Weather was fantastic. How about yours? You surprised me with your answer.
I surprised you.
Yes.
My one wish and gift to myself for Mother's Day was cleaning out the garage.
Yeah, that's unusual. Matt Smith, what do you think about someone cleaning their garage out on Mother's Day?
Listen, we did a little yard work, so I guess my wife, we can relate to the garage cleaning. We had nothing on the schedule for a few hours in the afternoon. She wanted to stay home, get a few things done, relax, enjoy the sunshine.
Exactly. I feel like it is underrated as far as having the time to do the things that build up around the house, and then all of a sudden you have a less cluttered home, a clearer mind. And so I am saying I stand by my decision of how I spent my Mother's Day.
And ultimately, moms get to decide how they want to spend the day. So you're the mom, you get to decide. Matt Smith, political director at Channel 12.
Good morning.
Always things to talk about. And as Chris and I have sort of chewed over the last few weeks, the budget battles in Madison, in Wisconsin, certainly consuming a lot of the oxygen for our legislatures. You had a couple of those folks on the Upfront program, which is a fantastic wrap-up of the week in politics in Wisconsin, available on Channel 12 and other outlets across the state. So What are they saying? What's the mood in the room?
Well, listen, so it's kind of officially underway, right? We had the first meeting last week. Republicans, they stripped 600 plus provisions from
Just
the governors,
600.
but 612 if you were counting all of them, as they have in previous cycles with the Democratic governor and Republican legislators. So they wipe it clean, essentially say they're going to start over, write their own budget, and now the question is what it's going to look like. Are Democrats going to need to vote for this? Is the governor going to sign it? What's going to happen with tax cuts? There's a lot of questions.
So one of the questions coming out of it was basically that you interviewed Joint Finance Committee chairs, Howard Markline and State Representative Mark Bourne.
Yep.
And they basically said to you, we're going to try to reduce the size of our government.
Yeah. So, completely different than what the governor proposed, and following along some of what we're seeing Republicans do in Congress is this approach to reduce the size of government, reduce potentially the number of people working for the government, and the amount of money going to some of these agencies throughout the state government.
So what does that look like as far as, like we said, they stripped away 600 different policies? Is it that they're starting over? Because I thought there was reporting last week that they're keeping some shell of it. What's left as far as a starting point for them?
It essentially went down to base, right, is what they always did. And there was some talk last week about what this was going to look like, but they essentially stripped all the policy provisions the governor put in, and they put it down to base, which means what it is currently, and then now they're going to build upon that in terms of what the testimony they're going to hear and the requests from the agencies, and they're going to essentially build their own version of the budget then is going to be debated through the legislature, and then the governor will sign or not sign.
And then you did ask them about how they are preparing for how this will align with the federal budget, and it sounded like they're not that worried about it?
Republicans don't seem worried about it. We talked specifically about Medicaid, and we saw the news coming out overnight. The House Energy Committee releasing their version of what these Medicaid potential cuts could look like. Not as sweeping as they could have gone, but still potentially millions that could be cut off of Medicaid. The burden could now be placed more on the states. And yeah, the Republican co-chairs said, listen, we see uncertainty in Washington all the time. Perhaps not as much as we are right now, but they really, really tried to downplay it. Democrats are taking the opposite approach, that this could be catastrophic. And the question was, well, let's say these cuts from the federal government ripple down to the state. I mean, 54% roughly of the state of Wisconsin's Medicaid funding comes from the federal government, billions of dollars. So like, does that just wipe away, or is there an appetite to find money elsewhere to invest in that? And what are Republicans going to do? And they said, well, we'll deal with it if and when it happens.
At the highest level, did you get a sense what they thought? And I know you had a little bit of audio on where this process is and where it's going in the next couple months.
Well, listen, there's some key numbers that come out this week just in terms of what the state is bringing in tax revenue and that type of what we're seeing from April, but also what's going on with the governor and negotiating over tax cuts. Republicans want to get this tax done deal before. The governor wants it part of the overall budget. So the question is, what's going to happen with that? Because that's going to drive a major part of the surplus. How much of that $4 billion is used on tax cuts, and how much is invested, like some Democrats would like to see more.
And you did talk to State Senator LaTanya Johnson, who is also on the Joint Finance Committee. She's a Democrat. And so is the first half of this sound Mark Bourne or?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Mark Bourne and LaTanya Johnson talking about those tax cuts.
Let's talk about tax cuts. From your perspective, where are these conversations and negotiations with the governor and Republican leaders? Where do they stand?
I think right now the governor doesn't seem serious about talking about it. He keeps trying to push it into the budget discussion more, and we would prefer to know our starting point, and so the talks are ongoing. Hopefully they'll be more productive than they have been.
What do Democrats think of the governor and Republican leaders having some talks at least about a potential tax cut agreement?
I think that's important. It's important for the taxpayers, especially for those areas that are going to referendums. We need to be trying to give some money back to residents, but we need to make sure that we're funding the things that we're supposed to be funding.
Exactly that. We need to be funding the things that we need to be funding. We'll see what that looks like. But the big question is, with the new makeup of the state legislature, both in the state Senate and in the Assembly, will they need Democrats to get this through? So we will talk about that with Matt Smith, political director at Channel 12, after this on Point Taken.
Why work with several sales reps that don't work for you, drinking their company's Kool-Aid, only able to sell what their company has to offer? You'll get biased opinions and probably not a very good deal. When it comes to local advertising, a lot of business owners do this. It takes a lot of time and will cost you more for your advertising than it has to. Let us work for you. We know all the rates for all media. This keeps everybody honest, and when you place the volume of advertising we do, it means you get great deals. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results. We'll make your ads potent, memorable, and effective. Whether it's radio, TV, billboards, or digital, our understanding of the market and long-standing relationships are unmatched. Anderson Smith represents a substantial amount of advertising billing, which will benefit you in getting much more for your ad dollar. Our compensation model is designed to make it affordable for businesses like yours to use us. And we hold on to our clients because what we do works, and they trust us. Anderson-Smith.com. We help small business advertisers get better results.
WTMJ's Eric Bilstead here for Tri-County Contracting. We talk all the time about Tri-County Contracting, the place to go for roofs and siding, but don't forget, Tri-County Contracting also does windows. Need a new front entry door? Tri-County Contracting, or maybe a patio door that's always jammed. Get your free estimates today. They've been helping homeowners like you for 46 years. Tri-County Contracting, WI.com. It's worry-free roofing, siding, and windows. Tri-County Contracting, WI.com.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Midday News with Greg Matzik and Jessica Ty.
Milwaukee's abandoned boat is finally out of the water. Assume they'll deconstruct this thing. They might crush it. I don't know what the end result is for Deep Thought. Kind of feel like some of it needs to go in a museum somewhere, but that's just me.
Bringing you the latest in news, sports, traffic, and weather.
We all know the saying, April showers bring May flowers, but here we're in May, so what do May showers bring?
Every weekday from noon until 3 p.m. Only on WTMJ.
Happy Monday, everybody. Got Matt Smith, political director at Channel 12 in Milwaukee, as good as it gets when it comes to looking at politics. He is the host of Upfront, along with Jared and Jordan. Got to get Jared in studio. Let's bring him in one week.
All right. Yeah.
Does he sleep in on Mondays? Is that why he's not
he's
here?
doing the morning show.
Oh.
He's like,
no, he's actually working,
almost done with his day.
All right. Maybe at the end.
We'll get him in.
Yeah, because we got an empty chair
We have
ready
an empty
for
chair.
it. Jaron, we appreciate your work as well.
Yeah, we'll get him in.
Kristin and Steve on this Monday edition of Point Taken, PTs like to call it. All right, so Kristin made a great point before the break. Will the state Senate need Democratic votes to pass this, whatever this budget's going to be?
It's a real possibility. I mean, you look at the numbers, and it is a very slim majority for Republicans. And the Republican caucus inside the state Senate is fascinating, right? You have a wide array of Republicans in terms of how fiscally conservative they want the budget to be, how much they're open to negotiations, and that will lead. We saw State Senator Steve Nass come out on Friday and essentially say, no negotiations. Let's cut this deal. Let's get rid of this deal with the governor and none of this. So he could be a no vote. We could have a couple no votes for Republicans, which would then mean they would need Democrats to pass the state budget out of that chamber.
Do we know of any Democrats who seem more willing to play and are interested in a coalition like that with some of the Republicans?
Yeah, I think coalition may be a strong term,
okay.
But I think they see it as a bargaining chip right now in terms of negotiating, knowing that they likely now have more power than they have in the past. And if you get to the point where you actually want to pass a budget with both Democrats and Republicans, both sides are going to know that they're going to need to make concessions, and they have to be willing to get to that point. So we'll see if that happens.
And so you got to talk to, as we played before as well, you were talking to over the weekend, Howard Markline, Mark Bourne, LaTanya Johnson. And so they also weighed in on this topic exactly.
Senator, do you think you're going to need Democratic votes to pass the budget out of the Senate?
We don't know. We have no idea. I can't speculate here and sitting here in May and what it might look like in a month and a half or 2 months from now.
Do you think Republicans will need some Democratic votes to pass a budget out of the Senate?
I hope they do, because then that gives us more room for negotiation. We are now at an opportunity to actually have input in what happens in the state capitol, and before we were not. So I'm banking on the fact that they're going to need our vote.
Was that Bourne at the beginning of that?
Markline.
Okay, boy, he had a long pause there, which I think is very telling.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't, if you're a Republican, you don't want to publicly say yet that you would need Democratic votes. I mean, because that loosens your power, right?
Let me just, they don't even like Democrats. So, why would he even want to talk to him? I'm speaking for him. Of course, I don't know him personally, but that's just the sense I get knowing the history and, reading between the words there and the lines. Look, they don't want that to happen. But unfortunately, the reality for Republicans, they're going to need some of that. And to the point that she was making, this is something that it's your opportunity to actually work with. So whatever you think that might be, you're not going to get your wish list, certainly, as the governor has learned over and over again. But there's going to be some opportunity to get something off your checklist that says, you know what, this is what we can get from Republicans in a state that's still controlled by Republicans in the legislature. That's like a reality of negotiations, which I'm, again, optimistic because they potentially need those votes.
Well, and has any of this come back to, obviously we're very early in this legislative session, but there are new maps.
Yep.
And obviously the Republicans still have the majority. Granted, it was a banger year across the country for Republicans, and yet all these seats were picked up by Democrats. And so is there any concern or at least acknowledgement that you've picked up on of some of these people who will be up for re-election in 2026, knowing that their seat could be in danger now with these new maps. Like, is that any part of the calculus at all? Or are they just kind of going like they still have a super majority?
No, I think that's those conversations are happening behind the scenes, especially on the Senate side of things. I think the Assembly could take a little longer, but I think when people say that there is a chance for Democrats to take control of the Senate in 2026, I think that's a real possibility. Things would have to line up. Things would have to go really well for Democrats.
Given, but it's for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
Could happen.
Yeah. And I think people are acknowledging that and understanding that. And I think we're going to see that play out a little bit in this budget cycle with the slimmer majority that Republicans have in the state Senate. If they are going to need that assistance, we're going to see a different dynamic, and we're going to see a much different dynamic if Democrats would get that in 26.
Yeah.
Lots more to talk about with Matt Smith, political director at Channel 12, Kristin, Brey, Steve Scaffidi on this Monday edition of Point Taken after the break. Ooh, Supreme Court getting involved in these boundaries again? What excitement could lie ahead for all of us in here in the state of Wisconsin? Justice or whatever the opposite of that is? We will see after this.
Want to stay up to date with the crew?
They're going to award the runner home. And now Pat Murphy's been tossed.
Tune in to Brewers Extra Innings with Dominic Cotroneo after every game.
I wonder if there's a way that we can fix this in the middle of the year. In the eyes of the rule, it's got to be clear, egregious, and violent. That was not the case.
Or listen anytime on the Brewers All Access podcast feed. We are your home of the Brewers, WTMJ.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for my special trip this year, special announcement, my 50th state, Hawaii. Yes, I'm going there November of 2026, not this year, next year. Already got a ton of people signed up, but you could be one of those fans joining me. Fox World Travel has created an incredible 3-island itinerary, which includes Oahu, Hawaii, Maui. We'll visit Pearl Harbor, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, and a Kona coffee plantation. We'll enjoy a luau on the Big Island, visit the Maui Aquatic Center. It's all part of an active itinerary, but you know what? We built in free days as well. So whatever you want to do, whether you want to hang by the pool, you want to go take your own excursion, you want to just walk around and enjoy the local fair, all part of this great WTMJ listener trip. And I'm doing a special tattoo event, so you can join me if you want to, either at a tattoo place or we're going to bring somebody in to tattoo a bunch of you on the trip. You don't have to. You can just join in the fun. Lots of details to find out about. You can call 866-GO-FOX-GO, 866-GO-FOX-GO, or visit my show page, WTMJ.com. There's a big early booking discount. Don't want to miss out on that. Best of Hawaii with yours truly. Call today, Fox Road Travel.
Pain, tingling, burning in your hand and wrist, wakes you up at night, makes life difficult. Working with your hands is nearly impossible. If that sounds like you may suffer with carpal tunnel syndrome. The problem is Medicare pays for the old open surgery done in a hospital or surgery center. And it's no walk in the park. Big incision, 6-week recovery. I mean, imagine your hands being bandaged up, unable to use it for 6 weeks. So if you want to, you can have that old open surgery the government says to get, or you have another option. An ultra minimally invasive procedure done in the office that can give you immediate relief in 15 minutes and you are back to your life in just one day. The Ovation Technique, only at Ovation Hand Institute. You've suffered long enough. You don't have to put the fix off anymore. Visit ovationhand.com and see the difference with your own eyes. ovationhand.com.
Hey, it's Jason Wilde for Excel Custom Decks. I'm the football guy, definitely not the outdoor home projects guy. So when it comes to things like deck building, Excel Custom Decks is the true go-to expert. Family owned and operated, Excel Custom Decks uses the finest materials and products and combines that with superior craftsmanship. If you want your outdoor area to shine this summer, contact Excel Custom Decks now. Whatever you dream up for that perfect deck, pergola, or outdoor kitchen, Rob and his family can build it. Excel Custom Decks, decking excellence by design. Visit excelcustomdecks.com today.
All right, we talked so much about lawsuits and lawyers and courts, and this one has to do, Kristin, with the Wisconsin Supreme Court. We saw the state boundaries change now, maybe the congressional districts being involved in this conversation.
Well, I'm interested in this because a Democratic-backed liberal law firm has now refiled. Is it a different lawsuit, or is it arguing anything different as far as asking the Supreme Court to relook at our congressional maps? Now, they rejected this in 2024. So what's changed that we now think that they would take it up?
The control of the court is it's the politics of it, right? So, I mean, there's 2 lawsuits out there now. So, I think it's just the nature of the makeup of the court and the political pressure of the court and what happens with that. Mark Elias, the firm you referenced, has sparred with President Trump a lot in recent years. And that makes it even more interesting on a national level when you just look at the sheer politics of it. And the question will be, A, of course, if the court even takes it up, and then B, you're going to have all these calls for recusal, right? Whether it be newly elected Justice Susan Crawford, Justice Protasewicz, Republicans, I'm assuming will attempt to get at least those 2 justices to recuse themselves. Whether they do or not is the big question. But I think the politics of it makes it incredibly intriguing at this moment, let alone the legal arguments behind it.
And remind me, why did they reject the congressional maps last year but took up the legislative maps?
Yeah, I forget the exact ruling on that. But yes, you're right that the congressional maps, no one touched the congressional maps. It was all strictly the legislative maps. So the question will be, to the point, what has changed and why, other than the fact that liberals are going to maintain control of the court
until 2028. And so because that's my big thing as far as this was a main talking point in the spring election, both from Elon Musk, both from other Republicans, but also Hakeem Jeffries weighed in and said like the balance of the House of Representatives could end up in Wisconsin. But the part that I was frustrated with was no one was pointing out the fact that this Supreme Court, the current Wisconsin Supreme Court, had already rejected this last year, and not really talking about what would have to change for them to feel, besides purely politics,
and a new member,
to feel like, oh, well, now this argument makes sense for us to take.
That's the answer. You have a new member, which could sort of change the conversation about whether we take up the case or not. But I think it's going to get not picked up as a case because they have a lot of stuff they're working on. And I don't know who we were talking to as one of our legal experts, but they don't have the volume of cases that we've seen in the past. They don't seem to be pushing out decisions at a quick pace either.
I mean, there's a lot of speculation as far as why have we still not gotten any kind of ruling on the abortion. The 2 different abortion cases. Is there Act 10? If there's any new timeline of when we can be expecting, have they even heard oral arguments for that yet?
No. And they put it back to the court, to the lower court, before it gets back up to the state Supreme Court. And the abortion question is fascinating because they heard arguments on that months ago. So the question is, when does this decision come out?
And on the congressional side, Derek Van Orden, who we're going to talk about in the next segment, certainly he's had some very close races. So redrawing those lines, especially in his district or around him, could certainly maybe change the future of that race.
And Brian Stile, those are the 2 districts that
my congressman. Matt Smith's going to stick around, political director at Channel 12 here in Milwaukee, host of Upfront, great program on local TV and across the state. You're everywhere now, right? Any cities you're not in?
Statewide. No, we're statewide, and YouTube, WISN 12 YouTube page, the app, everywhere
TikTok?
you can stream.
TikTok?
I'm not the biggest TikTok. Should I be on TikTok?
No, absolutely not.
I would say no because who knows what's going to happen? Are we probably halfway through the 75 days already we just keep kicking the can?
There's no deadlines that are actually deadlines anymore. That's what frustrates me.
Nothing is real.
Everything's fake.
Steve loves TikTok. If you haven't gathered
that would be a lie, a direct lie on a Monday. Matt Smith, Kristin, and Steve, we're going to kick around some other stuff. We'll find out what his Giannis take is at the end of the show because we've got to talk about that breaking news, sort of. And I'm air quoting breaking news because it's not really breaking news. Apparently, he said something that's not even an indicator of what he's actually thinking about it. Who knows? Anyway, all that coming up. We got local news with Connie Weber.
Tell us how you really feel, Steve.
Yes. And before we get to that, the latest now from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Sherry. Preston, crowds gathering in Tel Aviv and in his hometown of Tenafly, New Jersey, as we await the official release of U.S. Israeli citizen Idan Alexander. The IDF soldier, the last living American citizen still held hostage in Gaza, is being released today. President Trump signing an executive order that imposes a 30-day deadline for drug makers to lower costs for Americans or face a new rule that would limit U.S. drug costs to prices paid overseas. President Trump with an example from the Oval Office this morning.
One breast cancer drug costs Americans over $16,000 per bottle, but the same drug from the same factory, manufactured by the same company, is 1/6 that price in Australia.
Details continue to be ironed out over the 90-day pause and the tariff war between the U.S. and China. They have agreed to that 90-day pause this weekend. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 1031. I'm Connie Weber. Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Milwaukee suing its former finance director and an auditing firm alleging Brandy Ellis of Milwaukee misappropriated millions of dollars. The lawsuit says she paid false invoices and used corporate credit cards for personal purchases and accuses auditing firm Baker Tilly of failing to recognize the fraud. This comes after Catholic Charities identified 4 employees believed to be involved in a years-long scheme to steal over $1.5 million in December. Fire destroyed a garage in Kansasville. Fire officials say a lawnmower caught fire inside a detached garage Saturday. Happened around 4:45 p.m. When firefighters arrived, an explosion caused the door of the garage to burst outward. Nobody hurt, but the garage and its contents a total loss. In northern Wisconsin, wildfire danger extremely high for 19 counties. After a red flag warning on Sunday, the State Department of Natural Resources expects elevated fire conditions to continue today. They're urging extra caution with campfires, fireplace ashes, outdoor grills, smoking, and off-road vehicles. The DNR responded to nearly 100 wildfires in the first week of May. Here's your WTMJ Annex Wealth Management market update. Markets are up. Dow up 949 points at 42,198. The Nasdaq up 635 at 18,564. The S&P 500 up 148 at 5,808. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Taking a look at your roads with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic. We have a new crash. This is going to be on I-43 North at Plankinton Avenue. It is blocking the left shoulder. It doesn't look like it's blocking any lanes, but it is a crash that's still in the clearing stages. Also, I-94 West, almost a mile beyond the ramp from Moreland Road, right shoulder there blocked due to a disabled vehicle. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Mostly sunny today with a high 69 lakeside up to 80 inland. A few showers possible later on tonight with a low 52. Scattered showers tomorrow, then mostly cloudy, high 65 to 74 inland. Partly cloudy Wednesday, highs at 68 to 77. We could have some afternoon and evening thunderstorms on Thursday. Some of those could be strong. High 74 lakeside up to 82 inland. Then there's just a slight chance of rain on Friday. Partly cloudy with a high of 71. 68 in Madison, 70 in Green Bay, and 61 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 1034.
You've got several kids, or your job and other commitments keep you buried with work.
Meanwhile, the clutter is piling up at home. How can people stay tidy when their lives are in chaos?
We have a solution to help you chase away the chaos.
Yes. He's Dan, and I'm Katie. Together, we're Inspired Closets.
Our team at Inspired Closets can more than double your closet storage space via gorgeous closet renovations.
And our true lifetime warranty makes it a no-brainer. Get started today at InspiredClosetsMilwaukee.com.
Inspired Closets.
A wife and husband team.
70 years ago, the Blaine brothers founded Blaine's Farm and Fleet as one of the nation's first retail stores to sell goods at a discount. And we've helped supply Midwest farms and families with quality products at unbeatable prices ever since. Like DeWalt 20-volt atomic drill or impact kits, $99. A Rhino Pull electric winch and hoist, $499.99. Plus, in our tire and auto service center, name brand tires are buy 3, get 1 free for rewards members. Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Be an original.
With the trees budding and the flowers blooming, take a beautiful drive this week through the Kettle Moraine Forest for a free dinner at the historic Fox and Hound Supper Club. WTMJ's John Mercure here. It is the most unique and affordable dining destination in Wisconsin, and your second dinner's free. Order your favorite steak, seafood, the pan-fried walleye, a fresh salad, steak and lobster, even prime rib on Wednesdays. Any entree, your second dinner is free. Desserts, my favorite part of dinner, are also buy one, get one free. Unwind with a sweet old-fashioned, 20 bourbons, 100 wines. Celebrate a birthday. Celebrate an anniversary. Or just a quiet, free dinner with your sweetie in one of those 8 dining rooms. The Fox and Hound, easy to get to, just off Highway 167, 2 miles east of the Holy Hill Shrine. The spring drive is spectacular. It's coming to life. Fox and Hound's gift cards make perfect year-round gifts, as your second dinner is always free. Order online at foxandhoundsrestaurant.com. Walk on in tonight for your free Fox and Hounds dinner.
It's Monday. Point taken. Kristin, Brey, Scaffidi on this fine weather day here in Wisconsin. Hope it's nice where you are. Thanks for finding a time, by the way, to tune in on this program. However you find us over the air, online, YouTube. Matt Smith looking sensational as always. Got some sun over the weekend.
I was going to say, definitely took advantage of that nice weather.
Little burn.
You can tell it was a nice weekend because on all the local newscasts, everyone's got like a red face.
Yeah.
It's like that first exposure to the sun on this.
Welcome to Wisconsin.
Yes. All right, you put this into the mix here, and it's an interesting story because it challenges our perceptions and the reality of what's actually happening to our elected officials in this country.
Well, we didn't talk about this, but last Tuesday, there was a credible threat that was made against Republican U.S. Representative Derek Van Orden, and he was on Wisconsin's Afternoon News with John and Julia, and apparently, the threat was made against his wife, children, and grandchildren in a letter that was delivered to his office. And there's that singular event. But I also just wanted to have a bigger discussion because this is not an isolated incident for him. This is not an isolated incident for any of our elected officials. Mm-hmm. I know I've been reading about how many more judges are getting threats. And so what do we know about what the investigations are once these threats are made and what the ramifications are? Because it seems like there's no real ramifications that we know about that would maybe dissuade someone to think twice before they make these threats.
First it's finding the person who did this, right? And that takes up a lot of investigative time, whether it's U.S. Capitol Police or State Capitol Police or whoever, is the lead agency on this. But you're right. This is facing members of Congress, members of the state legislature, Democrats, Republicans, independents, you name it. I know Fitz, for example, when we had played his sound about those town halls a couple weeks ago, he made the point that when we start to get a little agitated, that makes law enforcement nervous. And they're really working with law enforcement ahead of these public town halls to say, is this safe? Is this secure? Can we actually do this in person? And that's why you're seeing some do these virtual or telephone town halls, they say, is because of the security concerns.
I think the thing that bothers me is we're obviously seeing a rise in these things. People are emboldened. We see the conduct on social media. We see the conduct. Even on the text line, sometimes people, I think, go too far. And to be honest, I challenge those people because if it seems like a threat to me, it's a threat. Because I've been around long enough. I know what they look like. I know what they sound like. But I think for all of us who are sort of looking at the big picture here, this sort of instability with how we relate to our elected officials is not a good thing. Now, there are elected officials that encourage that instability, which also is a problem. And we've seen, the muckraking that goes on, to use an old-fashioned political term. But that's sort of what some of these electeds do. I think lowering the temperature across the board would be a good thing. But for law enforcement specifically here, this is a waste of their time. They have other things to do. And if they're spending all their time chasing down letters that are sent to people or threats that are made to their homes or people that are standing outside their gated estates in some cases of the senators and the U.S. House Representative, it's not a good thing. They have other work to do. And I worry that this is sort of the new reality for us. And this is a dangerous time already in this country. So whether this is a credible threat or not, it has to be paid attention to.
Well, that's what I mean. As far as I feel like we hear about the threats a lot, but we don't really hear about the
repercussions.
And so so there's not a lot out there to. Feels very easy to make a threat.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like you mentioned the text line, right? It feels very easy to send an angry email or whatever and fire something off as far as your reaction. And sometimes it raises how you're saying it sounds more violent. But I feel like there really needs to be hammered home more of if you send this and you are caught, this is you can expect jail time. Because I don't think people put those two things together because we often don't talk about once the person is caught, what they're actually convicted of.
Yeah, the question goes to, is this your First Amendment right, or does it go way beyond that into something that is criminal?
This is where judges are going to have to step in and say, you know what, that goes too far. And it's going to take that kind of a decision.
But also lawmakers, right?
Absolutely.
I actually, it would be a good thing to ask a lawyer as far as what are the laws in the book when it comes to threats not acted on, but threats nonetheless.
And I know that you had mentioned this in our show notes that one of the reasons that Mike Gallagher stepped away was concerns for his family. And I know Mike a little bit. I interviewed him a ton of times. He was a good guy, a good man, a smart man. And That is something that should weigh on all of us. If we go too far, that's a problem.
But it's also, how do we get good people to run for office or do any of these things if they're like, it's not worth it? It's not worth the threat to my family to have this job.
And this is the reality. For what, right? Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, when we come back, we also you were also talking to one of the district judges who has been leading the effort when it comes to Judge Hannah Dugan, and we'll hear more about that after this on Point Taken.
A buck in today's world doesn't go far unless you're spending it at Griffin. Because for just $1 over cost, you can buy brand new tires from us. Buy one or a whole set. This is Jim Griffin. Any major brand. We'll put you in new tires for just $1 over our cost with free tire repair and lifetime rotation. That's right, $1 over cost, and we'll even show you the invoice to prove it. So what's the catch? There's really no catch. You don't have to buy a car or a truck from us. We'd like it if you did, but our only requirement is we put them on for you. Buy one, two, or a set of four. The $1 deal at Griffin. Available at Griffin Chrysler Jeep South, 27th Street and Jefferson. Griffin Ford, Waukesha, and Fort Atkinson. 5 ways to make your dollar go further. Griffin, the buck stops here, but the deals on tires don't. $1 over cost. That's Griffin.
Not combinable with any other tire offers.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I love talking about Advent because it changed my life. It can change your life too. Sleeping. More accurately, not sleeping. Tossing and turning, snoring. Are those problems that you face? Well, you don't have to put up with it. I didn't. I went to Advent, one of the great facilities. They put me at ease. 30-minute visit. Talked to their docs. Did a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed. Figured it out for me. My problem, sinuses and nasal passage, my breathing triangle. After a short procedure done in office, one of their great offices, I'm breathing better than ever, sleeping through the whole night. How about that? If you struggle like I used to, take the time to see how Advent can help you to find out breathing well and, more importantly, sleeping well can make your nights better. Go to adventknows.com and schedule an appointment today because Advent knows. Yes, Advent knows. When you breathe well, you live better.
Slide into your neighborhood Century Food store to score the freshest produce, tastiest treats, and everything in between. Now through Wednesday, save on gallon selected varieties Prairie Farms white or chocolate milk, $3.99. 59 to 64 ounce selected varieties silk milk, 2 for $7. 6 to 9 count selected varieties Blue Bunny novelties, 2 for $7. 10 to 12 ounce or count selected varieties Green Mountain coffee, $5.99.
Let's get some strawberries.
Attention shoppers. Safe.
Okay. Ooh, pineapple fulfills every need.
While you're shopping, a drive way back, it's a gunner.
There's something goofy going on with the PA.
Need a price check and I'll take me out to the ball game.
See, what is going on?
You're hearing things. We're at Century Foods and you can't take your mind off winning that ultimate baseball fan sweepstakes.
I'm hoping to throw out the first pitch at a Milwaukee baseball game.
Or attend batting practice.
Or hold the finish line ribbon for the racing sausages.
You don't say.
The ultimate baseball fan sweepstakes at Century Foods. Enter on Century's Facebook or Instagram by July 30th.
The Midwest's best baseball and softball training facility and retail center is here in New Berlin, and it's ready for you and your team. From little leaguers to hardcore players and trainers, this is the place you'll want to be.
You can't beat Burkhart.
Sometimes the conversation between the segments is the most interesting, but we'll
not always on air, safe for air.
No. Matt Smith joining us, political director at Channel 12. Him and along with Jaron Jordan do a great job on the Upfront program on the weekends. Available across the state. I forgot where we're going. Oh, yes, the Judge Hannah Dugan. That case has certainly been a cause celeb across the country, got a lot of media attention.
Do you feel like it's still...
It's died down a little bit.
It's died down a little bit. So I guess for as you guys were planning the show for Upfront this weekend, where do you feel like the story is going? Because you did get to interview retired U.S. District Judge Nancy Gertner. And so I feel like this is something that's like, is the media keeping this alive? Or is there actually new developments in this case? Because I could also see this just disappearing and be like, oh, yeah, remember that time that they arrested a judge?
I think that there's going to be new developments this week. She has a court hearing scheduled on Thursday. Okay. There could be some potential grand jury action before that, depending on what direction the feds go, if they wait for the preliminary hearing Thursday. So we wanted to talk to retired Judge Nancy Gertner because she really led this effort. 150 plus judges, retired state and federal judges across the country, who came out and essentially said we are appalled at how the Trump administration handled the arrest itself in terms terms of in the courthouse, the handcuffs, the pictures, shackled in the federal courtroom. I also talked, and we have a clip of this as well, but I also talked with her about the accusations itself, because those are two different things, right?
So which one do you want to play?
You tell me.
Well, let's play the So this is retired Judge Gertner talking about the accusations against Judge Hannah Dugan.
I do want to ask you about the accusations that she directed this defendant who was in her courtroom and who was in the country illegally to leave through the jury door as she's been accused by prosecutors of evading ICE agents. Is that acceptable behavior for a judge?
I don't think it would be acceptable behavior if it's true. The question is if it is true. The affidavit in support of the arrest says that she sent him out the side door to a public hallway. Let me repeat that, to a public hallway. This was not secreting him outside the courtroom. This was to a public hallway. So I'm gonna withhold any judgment until I hear what the hell they're talking about.
I don't know if that's withholding judgment. It's not like a defense attorney there, but I hear what she's saying. I mean, it's an interpretation that she's making that others didn't make.
Well, and so that is basically what this case is going to come down to, right? Is like intent and whether or not using which door is evading arrest or obstructing justice.
Yeah. And listen, I mean, if, to her point, I think off the top, she said, if what happened played out like the charges say they happened, that is inappropriate for a judge to act, but she's going to argue that that's not what happened. And more the perception of what the Trump administration is trying to do with this is why these 150 plus judges signed on.
To me, that's the important part. So that I can think two things at the same time. One, I think the judge could have went too far in her actions or her direction. And two, that the Trump's trying to grandstand here and make this sort of the demonstration of what we can do if you don't follow the rules. And they've done it on a couple of occasions. They're very into the public side of things. That's sort of what they're doing, and it's not surprising at all.
And to threaten, they see this. These 150 judges see this as a threat to judges across the country. That if you do this, we'll do this.
And so let's play this as well as far as what the interpretation of Judge Dugan's arrest was.
In other words, whatever she did or didn't do, the notion that the Department of Justice had to arrest her, right, rather than sending a summons and telling her to appear on a certain date. The notion that they had to arrest her was itself extraordinary. And worst of all, the notion that they had to parade her, what we call the perp walk, to handcuff her, take a picture of her getting into the car, having Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, post that picture, is humiliating, degrading, and ultimately intimidating. That was the only point of it.
I don't disagree with her, but that's what they've been known to do on occasion when they have stories like this. They're trying to demonstrate loudly and clearly at the direction of the U.S. president, we're not messing around here. Here's what it looks like. Don't do that. That behavior will get you in trouble. It's like the best PR campaign you could do if you're on that side of the equation. That's what they're doing here. It's not surprising. We're going to see what happens. I have no idea how long this is going to drag out. No idea. And I've asked this question among my legal experts away from the show. They don't even know. How long is this going to be a case? When's this going to get figured out?
Did I see another random headline of another judge that got arrested?
There is one more case.
There is one more case, right? I'm not making that up?
I don't know the specifics,
okay.
But no, there's two cases nationally at this moment, sort of the same sort of.
But certainly that one didn't make this rise to the same level of this one.
No. So we'll find out on that. Matt Smith, political director at Channel 12. One more segment. We'll see what he's going to be covering this week. And we got to get his hot Giannis take because apparently all the sports guys and gals are saying, oh, he might not be around for 3 more years. What is it, $175 million contract that's still outstanding. 3 years of Giannis. Will he leave or not? That is the question after this.
The leader in the dugout, the skipper, the man who riles up the crew with his words of inspiration.
You mean my old ass? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, that's our guy. Brewers manager Pat Murphy joins Wisconsin's Morning News every Tuesday at 8:45 for Brewers 360.
We're a team that the other team's going to feel us. You're not going to walk away from a series and not be felt. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Brewers 360 is sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited and Big Fish Contracting.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Badger Fence. I love talking about Badger Fence, especially my beautiful cedar fence they put in about 5 years ago. The company I trusted, Badger Fence. They've been installing these high-quality, durable fences in the area since 1945. Proud member of the Better Business Bureau. with an A-plus rating, as well as a member of the National Association of the Remodeling Industry. It's all about privacy, security, and a wide choice of fence styles. Well, that's the reason that a lot of people pick their fences, right? And the company to pick is Badger Fence. They're licensed, bonded, and insured, using the best materials in the industry with more than 76 years of experience. Whether you want wood, ornamental, chain link, or even PVC, they can help you choose the right materials for your fence project. And when it comes to quality, unmatched in the industry and at the most competitive prices. Find out for yourself. We love our new wood fence, especially all the birds that come in now to our yard because it's protected. And when my wife Kath and I were shopping around for fence companies, we found the right match with Badger Fence. To set up an appointment to talk with Badger Fence about your project, go to badgerfence.com. Tell them Scaffidi from WTMJ sent you.
It's Gina Della. You've heard me define what makes Pella windows and doors different. Let me introduce you to the woman behind the billboards, commercials, and share my extraordinary journey of resilience, reinvention, and shattering glass ceilings every Saturday morning at 6:30 on 620 WTMJ and anywhere you stream podcasts for What's the Difference with Gina Della to discuss business coaching across all industries, featuring successful executives, entrepreneurs, and mentors along the way. This is a story you won't want to miss.
I've had a number of surgeries, and frankly, I don't have time to rehab a surgery and an operation at this point in my life. I didn't want to take time off my kids' activities.
That's why former college and pro football player Bobby Carpenter turned to QC Kinetics. We couldn't be happier saving our patients like him from operating rooms and long recoveries.
I've been able to resume like normal activity for me, which is a lot of running. It's a lot of workouts. I've been very, very blessed with how it's been able to hold up.
For so long, patients have accepted surgery as the only solution. But with new technologies, the medical professionals at QC Kinetics use regenerative treatments, your body's own biologics, to help heal and restore knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
I actually ran into a friend of mine over at our golf course, and he had his knee done. It felt so well. He'd got his shoulder done. He goes, I can't thank you enough. He had heard the commercial on the air, and so it's feeling great.
Find out how you can avoid surgery and finally get relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 414-285-3474. That's 414-285-3474. 414-285-3474.
The next time you're due for service, visit richlands.com to schedule an appointment at any of our 5 conveniently located facilities.
All AAA approved and all staffed by ASE certified technicians ready to serve you.
Richlands.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Should I stay or should I go?
Oh, yeah. Fired up on a Monday. Matt Smith, Kristin, Brey, Scaffidi on the Point Taken program. Thanks for finding us. Matt Smith.
Yeah.
We were just chatting during the break. So as you leave here today, what's on your mind? What are you going to cover today? What are you going to put forth on the Channel 12 news tonight?
Well, looking at tonight, I guess we'll see. There's still how many hours before? We got a few hours.
It's
to
11
figure that
o'clock
out.
almost.
11.
You haven't plotted your day yet?
We work down to the second sometimes.
Really?
You would be amazed at how these stories sometimes get on television on time. Looking ahead, though, this week broadly, I think what happens with the Judge Dugan case, there's that court hearing scheduled Thursday. What insight can we get this week? Is the grand jury going to be involved earlier this week? I think we may see, learn some more. State Republican convention is this upcoming weekend.
Oh, wow.
Saturday, yes, in Wausau area, Rothschild, I think, technically. But fascinating coming off the Supreme Court loss, what those conversations are going to look like, especially as we look ahead to the fall.
Yeah, does shimming survive this weekend? Because is that one of the things that they're going to do this weekend is basically vote on leadership?
I think they could attempt. It's not like formally on the agenda, but I think there could be, if there were some attempt to try to remove him. But I don't know how likely.
It's a good question because
is.
He had the win with Trump and then lost the other races. So 50-50.
But also there was that, is it a resolution that they passed as far as their ability as a party to remove leadership?
Yeah, that's at the county level, I believe, right?
Was it not at the state level?
Well, they can always do that. The members decide that. So that could happen, but there's a lot of people that like Brian Schimming, so that may not happen at all.
All right.
And I think he's had 2 terms now. Has he had 2 terms? I think so. So I think
years kind of blend together sometimes. Yeah.
Actually,
well, did he start before or after the
you're asking
Ron
questions I can't answer, Kristin.
Campaign?
I don't know. The one
that Johnson won. He was chairman during that.
Yeah. So
when Johnson won. Yeah.
The one critique of him has been fundraising. I know my friend Bill McCoshen has criticized him openly on the show that he doesn't fundraise like some other previous chair people. So I think that's something to be considered. But we'll find out. All right, we got to ask you the honest question because.
It's the biggest question in Milwaukee today.
Apparently, yeah, because people are talking about it. So the rumor or the news, if you can call it news, is that he's open to the idea of going somewhere else to win another championship. I looked; it's 3 years. I think the Bucks owe him 3 years, $175 million. Not a bad paycheck for those 3 years.
Not terrible, no.
It's also a big contract for someone else to suck up to add a player. So I guess for me, even with the injuries that we've had almost every year, that we have 3 straight years of being knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, which is never good, never fun, and Packers fans can commiserate with that. I guess I still like to have
fans.
Yeah, so Brewers fans as well. Yeah, I enjoy watching Giannis play. I don't go a ton of Bucks games, but I go to a couple every year. I like the fact that he's our ambassador for the sport. I don't want to see him leave.
No, I don't think anyone does. Yeah. I think it would be devastating if he left, right? I mean, there was all this talk, especially when they lost, is like, well, was this his last game with the Bucks? I mean, there's going to be a lot of speculation, right, between now and next season and how all this goes down. But I mean, I guess if you want to read into what ESPN is reporting is that, he's open to this for the first time. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Do you know, Kristin?
I do not know. I think this is why I'm happy that I'm a political commentator and not a sports commentator, because this is going to be their jobs for the next 4 to 5 months to speculate and hang on every reporter's report and interview of what it means. We just get to speculate on what Mark Line and Bourne say.
I'll say it. I want Giannis to stay. You want Giannis to stay?
Of course I want Giannis to stay.
All right, so we all want Giannis to stay.
But want and will are two different things.
Oh, I don't think you understand the sway you have in this town, Kristin Bryce.
She is spoken.
We do. He and his wife are both big supporters of an organization I support.
I know.
It's Milwaukee Diaper Mission.
Yeah, which is great.
So that is by 1 degree of separation between them.
Matt Smith will do it again next Monday. I always appreciate your wisdom. Thanks for sharing it. Kristin and Steve got a whole nother hour to go here on 620 WTMJ.
Hi, I'm Tony Drake from Drake & Associates. If you've saved in a 401k or IRA, you might think you're set for retirement. But here's something you need to know. Every dollar you withdraw could be taxed. And with rising government debt, future tax hikes could take an even bigger bite out of your savings. Imagine reaching retirement only to realize the IRS is taking more of your money than you expected. It's one of the biggest risks that retirees face. Spending their savings without a plan for taxes. And once you're retired, it's often too late to fix it. That's why I want to help you create a tax strategy now so you can keep more of your hard-earned money. At Drake & Associates, we focus on tax-efficient retirement planning, helping you lower your lifetime tax bill and maximize your retirement income. And right now, I'm offering you a free retirement toolkit, plus a copy of my book, Get Retirement Ready, to show you how to keep more of your money working for you, not the IRS. Text TAX to 414-897-9522 to claim your free copies. Don't wait until tax rates rise. Start planning today. Text TAX to 414-897-9522. Drake & Associates, helping you keep more of what you've earned.
Drake & Associates LLC is an independent investment advisory firm that offers a variety of different investment vehicles. This commercial is provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as individual investment advice. Drake & Associates LLC does not provide legal or tax advice. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.
Born in the heart of the earth, natural diamonds rise up like the notes of a song from the throat of Mother Nature.
Rick, that was positively poetic. Mother Nature sings diamonds. Sarah, wow, you can sing.
Born in the heart of a plasma chamber, created diamonds fall softly like snowflakes from the heart of a star.
A star that shines like true love.
Natural diamonds are earthborn.
Created diamonds are starborn.
Kessler's has the largest selection of natural diamonds in the state of Wisconsin. All the different sizes, all the fancy shapes.
Give her a fancy diamond.
We do diamonds better because diamonds are what we do.
Bigger, brighter natural diamonds.
And financing that makes anything possible.
Kessler's is the largest employee-owned jewelry company in America.
Which means we can do anything we want to do.
For you.
Mother Nature sings diamonds.
For the location of the Kesslers nearest you, visit KesslersDiamonds.com.
The Brewers head to Cleveland Town to get them just a bit outside and then...
Swing and a miss! He struck him out! Trevor McGill went back to the curveball.
Our coverage against the Guardians starts today at 4:35 on your home for the Brewers. 620 WTMJ, Milwaukee.
11:01, we have 65 degrees. It's going to be sunny today with high 69 lakeside up to 80 inland. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. A Mother's Day morning fire leaves 5 dead and 3 in critical condition.
Firefighters rescued about 30 people trapped in an apartment building near 27th and Highland Boulevard. The 4-story building is uninhabitable, leaving about 100 residents displaced. Milwaukee Fire Chief Aaron Lipsky says the fire started in a common area. The building was not required to have sprinklers in the residential areas. The Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel found a building code violation for parking structure sprinklers in April 2024. Records show it took 9 follow-up inspections over nearly a year for the building to resolve the violation. Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
Milwaukee County officials will lead a walkthrough of the county's public safety building that they say needs to be replaced. County Executive David Crowley tells WTMJ's Wisconsin's Morning News the building's replacement is long overdue.
We're going to make sure that we can reduce costs in the future while making sure that we take care of our responsibilities. We must tear down and replace this public safety building.
The public safety building was built in 1929. County says 60,000 square feet of space and 10 floors of old jail cells are unused. Delays for a Deer District hotel. The 7-story Moxie Hotel proposal requires rezoning from the city. Editor-in-chief of the Milwaukee Business Journal, Timothy Gibbons, tells WTMJ it's unclear if the plans suit the current market.
The idea of having a 156-room hotel, which is what NCG Hospitality and the Bucks are looking for, they picked that number because they think that is what the market will bear. And nobody who runs a hotel wants to have a bunch of empty rooms sitting around.
The Zoning, Neighborhoods, and Development Committee pushed a meeting to vote on rezoning the area to the end of May. Stocks are soaring after the U.S. and China agreed to temporarily cut tariffs. The two superpowers held negotiations over the weekend in Switzerland. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said talks with China have been very productive, and both countries agreed to slash reciprocal tariffs by 115%. For at least 90 days. This morning, President Trump signing an executive order that imposes a 30-day deadline for drug makers to lower costs or face a new rule that would limit U.S. drug costs to prices paid overseas. ABC's Selena Wang says there are still many questions about that plan.
We don't have details about what drugs are going to be prioritized. U.S. officials say that they're going to look into the costliest drugs, and it will likely include weight loss drugs. But the president, he also tried to do something similar to this in his first term, but he was stopped by the courts. A judge determined that the president had not followed the proper procedure. So unclear how all of this is going to play out, but it could have a dramatic impact.
The Federal Register today has published a new list of approved food color additives.
The Food and Drug Administration has already signed off on the change and now, says FDA Commissioner Marty McCary,
we are simply asking American food companies to remove these petroleum-based food colorings and replace them with natural ingredients.
The new blue food coloring comes from algae and butterfly pea flower extract. A white color comes from calcium phosphate. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Time for news about your money in the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is up 856 points. The Nasdaq up 625. The S&P 500 is up 141. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:05.
Loyalty, family. Few things are more important. This is WTMJ's Steve Scaffidi and Loyal Family Renovations. They saved the day after a brutal storm in Oak Creek. Hail damage, yeah, I had a lot of it. But Jeff, Jake, and the whole team, absolute pros, made the entire process smooth as can be. Let's be honest, not everyone knows how to deal with adjusters. They handle all the questions, quick answers, top-notch customer service. In just 2 days, my roof was done. If storm damage hits, call the team that made it easy for me. Loyal Family Renovations. Visit loyalfamilyrenovations.com.
Here's to Time Out on the Water in Wisconsin.
to living your best life while enjoying the lake life.
Ready?
And getting up on a wakeboard the very first try. Or not. Here's to wearing only swimsuits and wishing this perfect day would never end. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Start your summer getaway at travelwisconsin.com.
Who doesn't need a seasonal wardrobe update? But who has the cash to always keep their wardrobe updated? Ladies, that's why you shop St. Vincent de Paul. Our women's clothing is always a highlight of our stores, and thrift store prices keep the costs low. It allows you to experiment and also find a hidden gem. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield, 23rd in Lincoln, and 76th and Bradley Road in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Hey, John Mercure here for Azura Memory Care and Assisted Living. Their mission is to transform the culture of care, and they do it every day with compassion and with empathy. They've got locations throughout Southeast Wisconsin. I've been to the locations. I love how they treat the people who live there. They specialize in caring for those with early to late-stage Alzheimer's or other related dementia symptoms. They offer early memory loss classes. Wisconsin-based and family-owned. Kindness at the core. It's Azura Living. Check them out at azuraliving.com. It's Azura.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All Sports Desk. The Brewers avoided a sweep by beating the Rays 4-2 on the road. Brewers continue their road trip tonight against the Guardians in Cleveland. In the NBA, Thunder took down the Nuggets 92-87 in Game 4. They're now tied at 2 apiece. Elsewhere, the Pacers put together a dominant showing in a 129-109 victory over the top-seeded Cavaliers in Indianapolis. Pacers lead that series 3-1. Taking a look at the roads now with your WTMJ time saver. Traffic still working that crash. It is blocking the left shoulder. No lanes. It is off left. I-43 north at Plankinton Avenue. There is a disabled vehicle on the ramp from 84th Street to I-94 west. Here's the WTMJ 5-day forecast. Sunny with a few afternoon clouds with a high 69 up to 80. Inland, partly cloudy. A few showers late tonight, low 52. Scattered rain tomorrow, mostly cloudy. High 65 to 74. Partly cloudy Wednesday, high 68 to 77. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms possible on Thursday. Some could be strong. High 74 lakeside to 82 inland. Then a slight chance of rain on Friday with a high 71. 72 in Madison, 74 in Green Bay, and 65 in Milwaukee. I'm Connie Weber. Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:08.
Broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue. It's time for Point Taken. Here are your hosts, Steve Scaffidi and Kristin Brey.
And we're back for the 11 o'clock hour of Point Taken on this Monday. And lots to get to. We did a lot of Wisconsin talk with Matt Smith. As always, we have so much fun with him when he is on. And now we're going to talk a little bit more national news. A lot of Trump stories happening this Monday morning. Actually, Brian Jacobson from Annex Wealth Management is going to be in for Dave Spano coming up next to talk about the new China deal, or at least the temporary
It's a pause.
agreement.
Yeah,
I would say
pause.
it's not really a deal yet. The pause that is happening.
De-escalating the tariff war for a moment or so.
And also the April Consumer Price Index report comes out tomorrow, so we'll get Brian's very smart take on
Brian's
all
a
of
smart
that.
guy, sharp guy.
And then later in the hour, I would say if this actually happens, for me, drug prices coming down, very good thing.
Yes.
This was one of the first things you asked me this morning. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that as far as another example potentially of classic conservative or Republican points
Just getting blown up.
being flipped on their head a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we'll talk about that later. But first, I guess, do we have to talk about this palace in the sky?
Yeah, so Qatar wants to apparently is going to give our president, Donald J. Trump, a free plane. Well, not free to them, $400 million estimated value.
I want to see pictures of what this plane looks like inside. I feel like all of the coverage so far has been pictures of the outside, but I want to know what a $400 million private plane actually looks like in the inside. Is everything plated gold? Does this look like Mar-a-Lago just in the sky?
If they're tailoring it to this president, yes, because we've already seen what's happened in the Oval Office. The current law, by the way, is presidents can't retain anything. I think it's under like $480. They can't retain these things.
I know. Did Jimmy Carter have to sell his peanut farm?
I don't know, but at least you have to get it away from your direct control. And this is an interesting piece of history. So in 2023, the U.S. House Oversight Committee reported 100 items given to Trump in his first administration were missing. Never accounted for, failure to log by the White House, his team, just missing, including a life-size painting of the president, golf clubs. You know what the value of that stuff was? $250,000. That's not even close to $400 million.
Well, and I guess I don't understand it. So does this need, like, from what I understand, what I was reading this morning about this deal, it's not final, but as you might imagine, ethics experts are raising concerns about this donation, largely because anything of this kind of value from a foreign official needs congressional approval. But it feels like this is another thing that's just going to happen, and we'll just be like, all right, well, a guy needs a plane, so I guess, because that's what the deal is, right? As far as there's been either repairs or something to the current Air Force One,
right,
that this is kind of sticking it to Boeing by being like, well, I'll just take this plane that's being donated to me. And would it take Congress being like, hey, wait a minute, slow down, you can't do that? Or is this just happening?
Well, it's a great question. And this version of Congress right now, before the midterms, they're not going to say anything about this because the Republicans that lead both sides, they're not going to get in the way of this. They've even have the White House legal team say, oh, it's perfectly fine. So you have that sort of pseudo-legal representation that this is okay. The White House Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, any gift given by a foreign government is always accepted in full compliance with all applicable laws. Well, maybe not here. President Trump's administration is committed to full transparency. We've got transparency because they're telling us about it. The problem is it's not legal, transparent or otherwise, and to just, where does it end? If you're taking a $400 million plane, is a $1 billion check so
But here's the
unusual?
thing. So I just saw this, Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, tweeted this out this morning as far as more of the details of this. And so it's not even that this is going to be donated to the U.S. government as the new Air Force One. Apparently, one of the officials said the plane would be donated to President Trump's presidential library when he leaves office, allowing him to continue using it as a private citizen.
Yeah, so it's sort of an unofficial Air Force One, even though the next president, whoever that will be, will have their own Air Force
So they'll
One.
just go back to Boeing. They'll go back to the old model and just be like, good luck
We
with
need
it.
a plane.
Unless you want to get another, maybe you'll strike another deal with Qatar.
The plane, to quote an old TV show. All right, Brian Jacobson, we're going to get serious and talk about tariffs, consumer price index, and all the things, the numbers that matter with Annex Wealth Management's, the brain trust of Annex Wealth Management. This guy's sharp, and he's good at his job. He will join us momentarily on Point Taken on 620 WTMJ.
Frondelmax Vextilando.
Ben?
Nargolento Zipidorium.
Ben!
Yes, Nicole?
Do I have to ask?
Why am I wearing a wizard's cape?
Yes.
Because of the Brooklyn Cabinet.
The Brooklyn Cabinet?
Have you heard of it?
Of course. It's the most configurable piece in Penny Mustard's history.
Configurabilis Maximus.
But what's with the wizard getup?
The Brooklyn Cabinet looks like something you'd see in the hallowed halls of a faraway magical campus.
That curved top is pretty enchanting.
And with all the configurable options, you get to work your personal magic.
Cabinenta Implortum.
Wait, what are you waving?
My magic wand, Arvid.
That's a beef stick.
Hey, even wizards get hungry.
Right.
Snackiest Summinoso.
Come see the bewitching Brooklyn Cabinet. American-made with locally sourced lumber and built to last for generations. Starting at $43.78 at Penny Mustard.
Showrooms in Milwaukee and Chicago.
PennyMustard.com.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
Maybe you don't need a new garage door. You just need to keep the door you love looking good and functioning well. Vince Vitrano for Lifetime Door Company, where they're always available to service your existing door. In the meantime, some tips from Rick Burr at Lifetime. Do not use a pressure washer on that door. It can damage the finish and paint. Do not remove parts for cleaning. Leave that to the experts. Do use a silicone-based lubricant 4 times a year. And if you need a can, stop by the showroom at 124th and Burleigh. Tell them Vinny sent you, and they'll give you one for free. LifetimeDoor.net.
Be our eyes on the road. See something out there that I should know about?
Hey, Debbie. Southbound 794. There was just an accident. Right now, it looks like at least one lane is closed.
Call me, Debbie Lazaga, on the WTMJ traffic tip line, 414-238-9329.
Highway 45 southbound. A tire came off of a car.
The drive affects you. Why not be part of it?
Northbound 41 at Burleigh. 3 vehicle accidents just happened in front of me.
Give me a call, 414-238-9329.
That usually means we're going to be joined by Anna Wealth Management. We're in progress making that happen. So Kristin and I will talk for a little bit. So it's sort of one of those stories that we talk about on the show where the president says one thing and creates, I'll say it, some drama around tariffs, because that's certainly what he did. Now, there's the other side that says he identified a problem that we were being treated unfairly when it comes to tariffs across the world and with other countries back and forth, our trade, our imports, our exports, and that he's rectifying a decades-long, maybe 100 years problem with how the economies of the world treat us. So there's that side of it as well. I guess I don't know enough about trade or tariffs to understand what exactly has happened, but we know that right now the breaking news is that China is going to lower their tariffs. We're coming to some sort of a pause.
Is what I understand. Oh, it helps if I put my mic on. Yeah.
There you go.
So as far as this was kind of slow, it's similar to what we learned last week with the UK deal, as far as it was kind of announced last night on social media, and then we got more details this morning. But it's basically, for now, the U.S. and China are going to slash their tariffs for 90 days. And so, obviously, stocks reacted favorably to this. We are going to lower our tariffs to 30% during the pause, while China will cut its tariffs to 10%. And so it seems like we do have Brian Jacobson, chief economist for Annex Wealth Management, joining us now. Hello, Brian.
Hey, how are you doing?
We're doing great. So tell us about this pause and what we can expect from it.
Yeah, it's a pause that certainly refreshes, especially after all the
That's
turmoil
not your
that we've
line,
seen.
Brian. We know where that came from.
That's right. Yes. So it is interesting if we look at the details. This is another one of those where it's almost like the broad brushstrokes, and then a lot of the details will be worked out a little bit later. It's obviously notable that we go from 145% tariffs on Chinese goods coming into the United States down to 30%. And then they went from 125% tariffs against U.S. goods down to only 10%. So the tariffs are still there in place. It's really been dialed down. The big issue right now is really working out the details, especially what are called non-tariff trade barriers. So it's not necessarily the percentage that's charged on the value of goods coming in. It's more about market access, the extent to which are they going to respect intellectual property rights? Are they going to allow businesses to invest there without having to share the profits with, some of their domestic competitors? So there are still a lot of details to work out here.
One of the things that I have a question about, I actually have a guest on Thursday's program to talk about imports and exports. And what I'm hearing is that the large containers from China, that market, those shipments have dropped off significantly. What does that signal in the short term for our markets, and in your case, the performance of the markets that affect all of our financial planning and our investments?
Sure. Well, I think that really what it's going to highlight is how we can have a big difference between how the economy performs and how the market performs. The market anticipates what's going to happen, and it doesn't always get it right, obviously. But if you think about the market reaction on April 2nd, it was a very negative reaction, but yet nothing had actually gone into place yet. So the market was expecting that there was going to be some economic damage. So now that a lot of this has been dialed back, now the market is looking more towards a recovery. So we are likely going to have that downdraft in economic activity, still living through it. When I look at container ship counts coming from China to the United States, they've fallen off a cliff, and they still need to now load those boats or ships, send them over to the United States. It needs to get distributed. So there's likely going to still be that economic disruption that we have to live through, but the market can look through that to the other side.
Well, that's my question. So 90 days, and we know that can go pretty quickly. So as far as for small businesses or even bigger businesses, we know the cliffs, like you just said, with the shipping containers have kind of fallen off a cliff. Is a 90-day runway enough time for some of these businesses to make, I'll use the word gamble, to start ordering things again under these lowered tariffs, still higher than what they were last year? But is this enough to kind of for shipping to get back on course, or do you think people are going to wait and see?
Yeah, I think what's really going to happen is we'll see another surge of orders coming through. And so if you think about the amount of time it takes to go from China to the United States via ship, it's anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. Kind of depends upon how fast they want to go, all sorts of other features. That's within that 90-day window. So if they can still place their orders and actually get them onto the ships, what happened last time is there was a set date that anything that left the port after a certain X date, that then it wouldn't, if it was after that, it would be subject to tariffs, but beforehand it would not. So I think this actually gives another window of opportunity for businesses that can place the orders to get those orders placed, but then to track them. Are they on the ships before that 90-day window closes? And it is a gamble, but it's one where they demonstrated that, if anything, they can cancel those orders. And what we saw in the Chinese data that was released last week for their exports to the United States dropped about 20%. But exports overall from China increased 8% because a lot of those goods that were destined for the United States, they were just rerouted to other places.
On the subject of trade agreements, there was some good news with the UK last week. The president had an Oval Office gathering. Was that a signal that this administration is willing to work with other countries to sort of sort this stuff out long term so that we don't have this war on tariffs and trade?
Yeah, I think that really the big news coming out of that trade deal wasn't necessarily the agreement between the U.S. and the UK so much as just the willingness to be flexible, and then also the almost friendly tone that President Trump took when he was talking about the relationship with President Xi from China, because that's one of the things that was almost like a precondition to coming to an agreement with China. Is they say, we want you to be nicer, right? We don't want you to have officials out there talking badly about us. Let's change the tone a little bit more constructive dialogue. And so that's where the market actually really started moving higher on Thursday when the U.S.-UK deal was announced. It wasn't that deal in itself. It was more the tone coming from the president saying that he was open to talking with them and had a good relationship. And that's where the markets were anticipating that would get some sort of tariff reprieve. The big surprise was the amount that we got. It went from 145 down to 30, whereas most people were expecting, well, he campaigned on about 60% tariffs on China, so let's expect 60. Well, he went under that, and so that was just better than expected.
He's Brian Jacobson, Chief Economist at Annex Wealth Management. We'll look ahead with Brian. We got some Consumer Price Index numbers coming out and more after this on 620 WTMJ.
We didn't write the headline. The Wall Street Journal did. The days of set and forget investing just ended for many Americans. Economic uncertainty and global unrest. It's a wake-up call. Standard financial advice is to avoid making rash decisions during market turmoil. But retirement planning isn't a set it and forget it process anymore. That's where Annex Wealth Management comes in. As fee-only fiduciaries, we craft personalized plans that adapt as needed. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Head to annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button.
Brew Crew Tuesdays are back on May 20th.
Churio sends it deep to left, and there she goes.
Catch the Brewers on local TV as they battle the Baltimore Orioles.
And Yelich launches one deep right center field. Forget about it. Oh my goodness, third deck.
This edition of Brew Crew Tuesdays is presented by Construction Business Group. Tune in May 20th at 6:40 on Fox 6 in Milwaukee, or check your local listings to watch the game.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
My name is Abigail, and I work at Layton Terrace. I love working here. Being a helper is awesome. I can make a difference. This job and living independent boost my emotions. I love my life.
Live life to the fullest with Thinkability Wisconsin, a resource hub that supports people with disabilities throughout their lives. Connect with a real-time navigator at thinkabilitywi.org.
Lake Geneva is the Midwest's premier golf destination featuring breathtaking views, crystal clear lakes, and rolling fairways. Treat yourself to an all-inclusive golf getaway with courses designed for all skill levels, luxurious lodging, distinctive dining, and a relaxing spa. Plan a Lake Geneva group golf outing, a corporate event, or a weekend getaway with friends or family. Their pros will help you plan a memorable golf experience. For info on courses and more, visit lakegeneva.com today. Lake Geneva, it's always been the place for legendary golf.
Vince Vitrano here for Connect Chiropractic. Get your aches and pains under control. But not only that, regular care with Connect Chiro can bring back your energy. A lot of folks start with headaches, back pain, and shoulder pain. How quickly you see results varies from person to person, but time and repetition are the key to staying on track. No twisting, no cracking, no popping. Connect Chiro docs use a special tool for all your adjustments, targeted results, and a gentler experience. Check out the new location in Oak Creek or get started at goconnectchiro.com.
Welcome back to Point Taken. I'm Kristin Brey. He's Steve Scaffidi, and we were talking to Chief Economist at Annex Wealth Management, Brian Jacobson. So as we look ahead into this week, Brian, the April Consumer Price Index report comes out tomorrow. And so what are you expecting as far as consumers' feeling and buying habits as we've gone through the last month of tariffs on, tariffs off?
That's right. Yeah, it will be interesting to see how prices have responded. So some preliminary data that the Federal Reserve has just published recently suggests that the tariffs that were applied in February and March, and so it's not the bulk of the tariffs, right, but at least those that were applied are being passed through to consumers. It's just that when you think about what's sometimes called the value-added content from what comes into the United States, because then we do further transformations, the distribution, all that stuff, that some of the price or the tariff costs are being passed on to consumers. It's just it might not be all that noticeable. It could be the difference between maybe $1 and maybe $1.01, something like that. So some people could view it as a rounding error, but we will get some of that information on Tuesday, really to confirm across the board what's being affected and what's not. But when I'm looking at the data, we also have producer prices coming out on Thursday and then import prices on Friday. And so I like following the chain of events here. What's it going to do? What are tariffs going to do to import prices? And then what does it do to producer prices? And then what does it do to consumer prices? So if you kind of think about that chain going from the manufacturers in China and wherever all the way to what you see on the store shelves, there are lots of different kind of buffers in there to absorb the tariff costs. And so what we're going to get this week is that first look about how things are beginning to kind of percolate through the system.
One of the things that was breaking this morning is that the president has signed apparently an executive order about drug costs. Has there been a market reaction to that, or investors talking about it?
Oh, yeah, a really big market reaction. Initially, it was quite negative, and now it's positive. So
how does that happen?
That just shows how the market, when it hears that an announcement is coming, it begins to price in what will that announcement be. And then when the reality can differ from what was expected, that's when you get news and you get price actions, and it's like, oh, okay, this wasn't quite as bad. So the idea of pushing for this, what's called most favored nation policy on drugs, where the United States will basically pay the same price as what these drugs are charged in other countries, whatever the lowest price in the world is, that's what the U.S. is willing to pay. That was already once struck down by the courts, and plus the Senate would have to go along to approve it. And the executive order, it was somewhat vague, saying that companies will basically be able to negotiate with Health and Human Services over the next 180 days, and then a rule will be proposed. So even though it gets a big headline, and it's a really important topic, prescription drug prices are very high, higher in the United States than in other countries, but the order itself, it really just gets the ball moving for something that could play out over the course of maybe the next 6 months to, if not 12 months.
Something to pay attention to. Brian Jacobson, Chief Economist at Annex Wealth Management. Always appreciate you sharing your wisdom, Brian.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Absolutely.
Brian.
We're going to stay on that topic in the next half hour because there's a lot there, including a challenge to you, I think, because we all would love lower costs, but
I'll call a spade a spade. If this is actually something that is the first step towards lower drug prices, especially when we talk about the Ozempics and some of these like life-changing drugs. If the actual conversation is Medicare and Medicaid could start paying for these things, I'm on board.
All right, she's Kristin. I'm Steve. We got local news with Connie Weber. Before we get to any of that, here's now the latest from ABC.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. After more than 580 days in captivity, Idon Alexander, the last living American hostage in Gaza, was freed by Hamas today to Red Cross officials, and he's now in Israeli custody. His family in Tel Aviv cheering after learning he was released. Alexander was 20 when he was kidnapped on October 7th from his military position. ABC's Ian Pannell says he will go to a military hospital first.
There's a helicopter waiting on the ground at the military base where his mum is now waiting to be reunited with him. Her saying, I just want to see him, hug him, be with him, and that they were totally surprised by the news that the U.S. Was going to secure the release.
President Trump also traveling to the Middle East for key talks with Arab leaders this week. Stocks surging today on word the U.S. and China paused reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. 10% tariffs remain. In New York City, opening statements underway in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial. This is ABC News.
Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:31. I'm Connie Weber. A 5-alarm apartment fire kills 5 people and leaves 3 others in critical condition. Firefighters rescued about 30 people near 27th and Highland Boulevard Mother's Day morning. The 4-story Highland Court Apartments is uninhabitable. About 100 people are displaced. 3-year-old child recovering after a shooting on Milwaukee's northwest side overnight happened near 34th and Hour just before 11 p.m. Police still looking for suspects. More Milwaukee public school students head to a new building today. Brown Street School, the latest MPS building to close for lead cleanup. Currently, MPS has 4 schools closed for lead cleanup in addition to Brown Street, including Starms Early Childhood Center, La Follette School, and Westside Academy. Time for some news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Dow is up 927 points at 42,176. The Nasdaq up 667 at 18,598. The S&P 500 up 151 at 5,811. Financial planning at every level. Annex Comprehensive Wealth, Annex Private Client, Annex Ignite. Details at annexwealth.com. Take a look at the roads now with your WTMJ Time Saver traffic working a new crash. This is going to be on the exit to Moreland Road North from I-94 West. We have a disabled vehicle that is blocking a right lane. This is going to be on Highway 59 West at Barker Road, Johnson Road. Here's your WTMJ 5-day forecast. Mostly sunny, few afternoon clouds, high 69 up to 80 inland. Showers possible later on tonight with a low 52. Scattered showers tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy with a high 65 to 74. Partly cloudy Wednesday, high 68 to 77. Afternoon and evening thunderstorms on Thursday, some possibly strong. High 74 lakeside, 82 inland. And then Friday, breezy, slight chance of rain, partly cloudy with a high of 71. 72 in Madison, 74 in Green Bay, and in Milwaukee, we're at 65 degrees. I'm Connie Weber, Outdoor Living Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:33.
For pilots and aviation lovers, nothing quite like making a trip to EAA AirVenture Oshkosh, July 21st through the 27th. Get up close to thousands of aircraft, learn about the newest innovations, get hands-on with expert forums, and witness breathtaking daily air shows. No better way to immerse yourself into the world of aviation than by coming to the world's greatest aviation celebration. Fuel your passion for flight. Details and tickets at eaa.org/tickets, July 21st through the 27th. 1 week, endless possibilities. When we're out in your town, come say hi as we broadcast live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
Anytime you hear us when we're on the road, you can find us live from our brand new mobile studio.
Whether it be Summerfest, EAA, Opening Day, Air and Water Show, wherever we may be.
You can see us on the radio, live from the Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin mobile studio.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
We are Wisconsin's radio station.
News Radio 620 WTMJ.
Hey, this is Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I had some snoring issues that kept my wife up at night. That led to poor sleep and a lot of tired mornings on the radio, and nobody wants that, trust me. But it's simply my nose wasn't working the way it should. I decided to go to Advent for a quick 30-minute visit, one of their great facilities, talk to a bunch of their doctors. They really put me at ease. After a really simple sleep study at home in my own bed, they determined the root cause of my problem had to do with my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. I didn't even know I had a breathing triangle, so I went to see Advent. After a short procedure done in office, I'm back to breathing well, and my wife and I are both back to sleeping through the whole night. The best sleep we've ever had, that could be you. If you struggle with restless nights like I did, take the time to see how Advent can help. To find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your life and your nights a whole lot better, go to AdventKnows.com, schedule an appointment today. Because Advent knows, when you breathe well, you live better. Rocking on a Monday. Kristin, Brey, Steve in studio here at WTMJ, Wisconsin Avenue, downtown Milwaukee.
You sound like an FM jock rock.
Exactly.
Jock rock.
I could do that job in a second.
Do you ever want to do that job?
No, unless they pay me a lot of money. Because all you do is talk for the 30 seconds before that lyrics start kicking in, right? Just run it up to the post. Love that job. 11:36 here on 620 WTMJ. All right, so I love this story for a lot of reasons because, one, who doesn't want lower drug costs? I mean,
do you have any recurring?
I don't take any medication.
Look at you. Good for you.
Yeah. You? Not that we want to get too personal.
I have ADHD medicine.
Okay.
But that's it. And that's not too expensive, but I don't have anything. I don't have any life-saving drugs that I have to.
Right, but a lot of people do.
But a lot of people do. And that is one of the things that always feels like many things. I think I saw recently some PowerPoint that was at a conference in Australia talking about healthcare in Australia. And it was basically a flowchart of questions. Mind you, this is for an Australian audience. And it says, does the U.S. do it in regards to healthcare? And it was said, yes, we should not do it then. And so I think there's a lot of criticism that can be had as far as our healthcare system in this country, how expensive it is, what our health outcomes actually are for what we're paying for. So to say we're going to lower drug prices to be a little bit more aligned with what they actually cost to make. Hello, insulin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what party is behind this. I think that's a good thing.
Our president signing an executive order this morning to at least start the process of bringing these drug costs down. That's sort of a challenge for people, especially those who hate Donald Trump.
So this is because you asked me about this morning, and I think this is where I don't feel like I am a partisan. As far as how does this play out politically? Like, this is bad for Democrats if President Trump does this, or if we were talking last week about having a new tax bracket for people who make or families that make more than $5 million a year. I don't see those announcements and think, well, this is bad for Democrats. I see it as this. I think this is a good thing, and I would hope that more people would think that way as far as what is best for me, what is best for my community, what is best for the most amount of people, versus only seeing it through a political lens of how does this play out in the next election.
Yeah, and I call it the typical cheering for bad news because it helps your party. I'm not one of those people either. I don't want bad news. I don't care who it benefits. And as Brian pointed out, there's a lot of roadblocks to this being
this
a reality.
happening. Yeah.
Yes, there's congressional action, there's lawsuits and all that stuff. And by the way, the drug companies are going to have something to say. But it is interesting, and you talk about Australia, other countries in the world paying a lot less for their drugs than we do. And those drugs, last time I checked, many of them are manufactured right here in the United States. Doesn't really make sense. So what's going on here? And maybe that's not the market dictating the price. Maybe that's something else, price fixing or price gouging. So I'm going to give the President of the United States credit for at least
starting the conversation.
Yes.
Well, wasn't this also something he was trying to do in his first administration, and that got blocked? And
it got blocked, yeah. Which I don't know what's different this time, but here's what I do know, and my friend Bill McCoshen would probably agree. This is a president pushing the right buttons when it comes to public opinion and perception, because all we hear about is how expensive drugs are. I'm lucky. I don't have prescription drugs, but a lot of people do. My wife has an ailment where she has to have a lot of different prescription drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, thank God insurance companies, but not everyone has insurance either. And when you talk about this impact on your budget, especially someone who's really well into a significant illness or ailment or disease. There's no way out of this, and maybe this is at least a sign of hope that this president, our president, by the way, is at least looking at that and having a start to this conversation.
Well, and it is interesting as far as I know RFK, who his whole thing is anti-big pharma. But
Right.
one of my favorite things about this is there's now some charts going around as far as what the big pharma industry is and how that is completely dwarfed by the big wellness industry as far as supplements and like a lot of the things that Maha buys into. It's a lot of things that are not peer reviewed, but will certainly sell you something. Anyways, RFK did go up and he congratulated the president while also calling out some of the people who are trying to say that this is a president who supports an oligarchy.
Whoever is paying the lowest price, we will look at that price and we will.
Let's try it again.
And I'm
There we
very,
go.
very proud of you, Mr.
That's the voice we're
President,
looking
for your
for.
courage. I'll say, because I don't want to be crude, your intestinal fortitude, your stiff spine, and your willingness to stand up for the American people. We have 4.2% of the world's population. Our country represents 75% of the revenues for pharmaceutical companies.
I always it's such a weird thing because he is such a fit guy, but that voice sounds like he's going to die tomorrow. Every time I hear him talk. But here's where the RFK Jr. influence on the president, I think, is significant. That's, I think, where the nucleus of this idea came from. He's not a big fan of the big pharma companies, and I think the president, who's often been accused of believing the last thing he heard, has talked to him recently and said, you know what, this is not right. And again, I'm gonna praise the president when he does something I think people are going to agree with. Left or right, this is a move, some people would say, in the right direction.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the points you made to me this morning was why classic conservative, classic Republican arguments that side with pharmaceutical companies on this topic. We just had someone text in from the 920 say, no, let the free market prevail. Yes, it's unfair. Other countries pay less. I don't get that. But forcing companies to lower prices will take away incentive to create more life-saving drugs.
Exactly the conservative position that you would expect from a conservative president. But as I said over and over again as we go to break, this president, not really a conservative. That shouldn't shock you. I love this topic. We'll probably get back to this at some point. Maybe we'll talk to some drug company people. That'd be interesting.
It would be interesting.
All right, she's Chris and I'm Steve. After the break, we do it all in the run up to our Heroes Week next week on Salute to Service, presented by Waterstone Bank. We'll tell you the story of a Racine police officer, Gabrielle Hood, after this on 620 WTMJ.
Wisconsin's Morning News is here for you every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. Vince Petrano.
An armed confrontation with a person who's closed himself inside a home, Fox Glen Road in the village of Fredonia.
Eric Billstad.
The father of the Abundant Life Christian Schools shooter will make his first court appearance. Jeffrey Rupp now faces 3 felony charges.
And traffic with Debbie Lozica.
Got a crash westbound 94 just west of Highway 100.
The news you need to know. Wisconsin's Morning News on WTMJ.
Hey, it's WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Heiser Automotive. You know I love talking about Heiser. 5-year relationship, but I even bought cars 10 years before that. And we just bought a brand new Chevy Trailblazer from Heiser for my wife, Kathy. She loves it, by the way. Loves that vehicle. Loves everything about it. The gas mileage is incredible. I'm driving a Chevy Silverado, though, a pre-owned car, and it's one of many pre-owns I've driven for Heiser, and I want to tell you about the experience. So whether it's new or pre-owned, you're going to get the best from Heiser. They're so good at customer service. The Chevy Silverado, and I was a Ford F-150 guy. I've driven them both for Heiser, and my personal truck was a Ford F-150. The Chevy Silverado has got the goods. It's amazing truck, affordable for a truck, and it has all the towing capacity, all the payload, lots of room inside, luxury. You can get all the luxury you want, the technology, which also makes it really cool. Find out for yourself. Go to one of 5 great locations that Heiser has in the southeast Wisconsin area. They put their customers first. That means you. And that's why they can say every day, like I love saying, today's your day.
It's Debbie Lazaga, and I'm so excited because Kohler Services just transformed my old bathtub into a beautiful new Lux Stone shower. Kohler Services made it so easy. They came to my home and helped me design my custom shower, and they hauled away my old tub. Stephen, Luke, and Will were focused and professional installers. I recommend them to anyone. You can request your free quote for a custom Kohler Lux Stone shower by visiting KohlerServicesWI.com. That's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Slide into your neighborhood Century Food store to score the freshest produce, tastiest treats, and everything in between. Now through Wednesday, save on gallon selected varieties Prairie Farms white or chocolate milk, $3.99. 59 to 64 ounce selected varieties silk milk, 2 for $7. 6 to 9 count selected varieties Blue Bunny novelties, 2 for $7. 10 to 12 ounce or count selected varieties Green Mountain Coffee, $5.99.
Let's get some strawberries.
Attention shoppers. Safe.
Okay. Ooh, pineapple fulfills every need.
While you're shopping, a drive way back, it's a gunner.
There's something goofy going on with the PA.
Need a price check and I'll take me out to the ball game.
See, what is going on?
You're hearing things. We're at Century Foods, and you can't take your mind off winning that ultimate baseball fan sweepstakes.
I'm hoping to throw out the first pitch at a Milwaukee baseball game.
Or attend batting practice.
Or hold the finish line ribbon for the racing sausages.
You don't say.
The ultimate baseball fan sweepstakes at Century Foods. Enter on Century's Facebook or Instagram by July 30th.
Historic Fox and Hound Supper Club gift cards make perfect year-round birthday, anniversary, and thank you gifts. With the buy one dinner, get one free offer, it's like getting a free gift card. Order online at foxandhoundsrestaurant.com and enjoy your free dinner.
Thanks for tuning in on this Monday. Kristin, Brey, Steve Scaffidi, point taken, PT, as I like to call it, and soon you'll be calling it that as well, because that's the trendy thing to do. Is
why do you want to call it PT so
I just
badly?
love the sound of it. I want to get a T-shirt that says PT on it.
But I feel like when you just simplify it to an acronym, there's a lot of people who can just start calling it different things.
Like naughty things?
I don't know, maybe.
We'll think about that. All right. So one of the things we do in the week to our Heroes Week, run up to our week of Heroes Week next week, presented by Waterstone Bag, is we play some of our previous honorees. This is a great one from last year. Producer Jazz really knocked it out of the park talking to Racine Police Officer Gabrielle Hood.
My name's Evan Witz-Allison with Racine County Human Services, and I'm nominating Gabby Hood for Salute to Service.
I'm Officer Hood with the Racine Police Department. I've been a police officer since August of 2022, and I've always wanted to be a police officer since I was 7 years old. My first basketball coach was a police officer for the city of Racine, and he was always super giving and very involved within the community, and just someone I always looked up to. So I've always had that dream because of him.
Is there a story or a moment that stands out to you?
Some stuff just comes full circle and you don't even know it. I went to a call and this person was unresponsive. I did CPR, and probably a month or so later, I was volunteering at our hot meal program here in the city that we have on Mondays. And I was approached by this gentleman who's like, "Oh my goodness, you saved my life."
Outside of her role as a police officer, she's also a foster parent with her partner.
This won't be easy. Do it anyway. They need you, and we kind of need them in a way too. I've learned that. I was on the fence about having kids, and it's kind of like softened me up a little bit, to be honest with you.
I was a basketball coach for a number of years. It always hit me kind of hard with some of them that didn't have the best home life or would ask to come home with me because things weren't good at home. Something in my heart that was like, you know what, we could give back in a different way.
I had a client who had a bit of a issue at home. She was the officer that responded, and after figuring out what the problem was and solving it, contacted me just to kind of get some background to see how she could help this young person.
I try to give people resources that are going to get them away from the whole foster care situation. There's ways to stop that cycle before you get there. So I always utilize the resources that I'm aware of to try to help families so that they can get the help that they need and not end up in the system.
She definitely demonstrates that community policing is important because it helps the officers develop the trust that they need within the community.
You recently participated in something called the Bigger Than Basketball game in Racine. What was that about?
I participated in that because oftentimes when I interact with kids, they're super hesitant at first. And I always let them know, hey, I'm just like you. Don't let the uniform discourage you. You're supposed to be able to use me if you need me, and I want you to know that. For them in that setting, they all were like, oh my goodness, we've never seen you without your uniform. It was a real good way for them to see I really am just like them. The game was for them, and it's a great way for us to bridge that gap that I feel like our community really has.
What does salute to service mean to you?
I would say a salute to service is appreciating the little things that folks like myself, my colleagues do. It really is a thankless job. You go to all sorts of different calls. You can go to a call right away in the morning where someone's died, and you have to be the support system for people there and move right on to the rest of your day. And I don't think people understand the weight that the job carries sometimes, whether they're big or small.
From the post-game show to the morning show, there's no rest for baseball and Dominic Cotroneo.
I was like a kid on Christmas Eve. I couldn't sleep last night. I was just so excited to get ready to watch games that count.
Dominic Cotroneo is our Brewers 360 guest every Monday morning at 8:45 on Wisconsin's Morning News.
There are some roster decisions I do want to break down here, and then we'll get into the lineup.
Brewers 360 is sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited and Big Fish Contracting.
Hey, it's WTMJ. Steve Scaffidi here for Milwaukee Weight Loss. I love talking about it. You know this because it changed my life. And if you watch the YouTube channel, you know that I lost 40 pounds as of today, as of this morning. It's a secret, by the way, to losing up to 1 pound of fat per day. You can do it healthy, though. Their doctors have developed easy to follow. I followed it. You can certainly do that. Helps you lose weight fast, naturally, and safely with no drugs or injections with risk of serious side effects. No prepackaged meals, bars, shakes, the gimmicky stuff, as I like to call it. You don't even have to exercise if you don't want to, but a little light walking is always a good thing. Their program helps reset your metabolism, and it certainly does that for me. You can keep the weight off for good with a coach. Mine's Emily. She's outstanding. All their coaches are great. Their program costs up to half as much and works up to twice as fast as most other programs. Go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Schedule your free consultation. Yes, free consultation. Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. I did it. You can do it too. It's crazy to watch your body lose that weight. Call 262-449-1180 or go to MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. MilwaukeeWeightLoss.com. Results may vary.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Spring is in the air, the perfect time to kickstart those home improvement dreams. Hi, Gene Miller here for my friends at Hometown Windows and Doors. They're your local experts in stylish, energy-efficient upgrades. Boost your curb appeal and add real value with top brands like Pella, Anderson, Marvin, and more. All customized to fit your home and your style. Wood, vinyl, or fiberglass, they've got it all. And their newly remodeled New Berlin showroom is the place to start. That's Hometown with an E for your every window and door need. Visit hometownwindows.com today.
I'm Brett Matschke, and you're due for service.
Richlands. Find furniture for life from Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield, Greenfield, or downtown Milwaukee.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Kristin, Brey, and Steve Scaffidi on this Monday edition. Almost done before we hand it over on WTMJ.
All right, well, that was we said that we were going to potentially do an AI segment every day. So we looked up today's National Limerick Day.
I don't know anything about limerick.
It's a type of poem, obviously.
Yes.
And so I quickly, during commercial, asked ChatGPT to to write us a limerick about two radio hosts named Steve and Kristin. Would you like to hear what it came up with?
Sure.
Steve and Kristin were live on the air, cracking jokes with impeccable flair. With a mic and some tunes, they'd brighten dull noons, a duo beyond all compare.
That's pretty good for like 30 seconds of work.
That is it. Would you like a version with a twist or a funny mishap? Should I say yes and see what it comes up with?
As long as it's clean.
And so I feel like Chet, I don't think it offers.
Does Chet, did they use the dirty words in those things ever or no?
I don't know. Steve and Kristin once fought on the show over which song had the best flow. That's not, Steve said old rock. Kristin said, I think it cut off. We got wrong kind of radio show host, although apparently you would like to be an FM radio host because you get paid a lot to not say much.
Yes, exactly. And not at a high level of intelligence either. And I love all those folks.
Oh,
but
wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Shots fired.
There's a reason why you're doing that stuff. All right. So
gosh.
It's also, by the way, not to be too mean, National Odometer Day. What a random thing to have a day.
That is a very random day.
You know what it does? The actual purpose? You could probably guess this. It provides people an opportunity to learn a little bit about the odometer. Like, why do we need to know more about it, really? It's an instrument, by the way, that indicates the distance traveled by a vehicle. You know, it tracks your miles, right?
National Anthony Day.
Anthony, that's my middle name.
This National Anthony Day, learn more about America's 49th most common name.
So my middle name is the 49th most common name. Interesting.
Where do you think Steve falls on that list? More or less popular?
I don't know, probably less, but I do know no one's naming their baby Steve anymore. That is like a non thing.
I feel like the name that was the most popular, and now I barely know any, is my mom's name, Debbie.
Yeah.
Like the women born around 1955, the number of Debbies that age versus how many Debbies I know my age or younger, stark difference.
There's definitely like generational names like Gertrude or Phyllis. You don't see a lot of those names because that was a very popular name like 50 years ago. My mom's Agnes. Yeah. Popular in Scotland, but not so much here. Although I do know someone that just named their daughter Agnes, so there's hope. Mm-hmm. Steve though, or Stephen, not many.
I feel like I know. That's not. I don't think like that's not a name like Clarence. I feel like Clarence really fell off the cliff.
Or Wally.
I know. I have a friend with a Wally.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Walter.
Is it Walter? Yeah.
Yeah. Second, his Dave. He's a junior.
Am I wrong in saying that most young parents now would like to have their kid with the official version versus the shortened, like Walter versus Wally? Or is that not? They call their kid Walter, not Wally.
I don't think that's true.
It's not true?
I mean, we call Frances Frankie.
True. So you'd be the opposite.
So because basically we gave her an option as she gets older to be like, do you want to go by Frances or do you want to go by Frankie?
Interesting. I learned something today, and that's what I just learned. All right.
You didn't learn anything else in the last 2 hours?
I learned a lot. We had smart people on the show today, so we learned a lot. Hope you learned it as well. We'll be back tomorrow. Looking forward to that conversation on Point Taken with Kristin and Steve.
PT.
Right here on WTMJ.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why